Welcome to A Mile Deep with Mr. Peter Taylor. How you doing, Pete?
Good man.
I feel like I should be saying welcome to the Awaken Man podcast.
Right. We've
So
got some experience of podcasting with each other.
just a little bit. Actually, this is I'm excited about this one. So for those of y'all who followed my podcast journey so far, Pete and I do, and I was going to say it's a previous podcast, and actually it's a current podcast. We're going to be doing some episodes on it. And Pete and I have shared an experience of transforming not only our personal journeys, but the journeys of so many men in the Awaken Man project. And before I left Awaken Man and started A Mile Deep and the 10X Tribe, I was business partners with Pete. Absolutely incredible experience. And I've blazed my own trail. And Pete is continuing the path of helping men become awakened. And I'm excited about today's podcast because we never really interviewed you. I don't think I've
No.
ever interviewed you. So this will be quite good.
Yes. Interesting. Because normally we co-host it and then we just jam on whatever came up. Yeah, crack on. Let's crack it. Let's get into an interview.
Yeah. So on today's podcast, what we're going to do is Pete's created somewhat of an illogical life, and I want to start going a mile deep on what caused you to go into this process of really like you've had a massive life transformation in the time that I've known you.
Mm.
Tell me more about that. Like what was going on before that?
Yeah, it's like firstly, what the fuck's an illogical life? Um, I heard this word like a while ago, illogical, and I'm like, I like that. That resonates with me powerfully. And I'm like, do you know what? Actually, here's how I define this is that even just 3 years ago, looking at my life now, I would have said, no way, that's completely illogical. There's no way that I could live that sort of life. And I suppose that's how I would define a logical life. Something that a life that you can look at and go, do you know what? A couple of years ago, I'd have said no freaking way I'd lead that sort of life.
So, like, describe your life. Even like, well, I met you actually met Pete when he was running an event called
Quantum leaps.
Quantum Leaps, and I went to London. Like, I was actually leaving the world of training, and I wanted to become a full time coach. And I left. And I went and did Pete's London event with Yassine, and I thought Pete was a fitness trainer, but he was actually you were in the like design and build and the like what was it
Architecture.
architecture, that's it. And I was like, wow, that was a real surprise. But your life at the time, tell me about what was going on there.
Yeah, so that event that you came to, essentially, that was an event for entrepreneurs. And that was actually my very first step into this online entrepreneurial event crazy space. Prior to that, I'm building a bricks and mortar, very traditional business. I am not online. I'm not in that world. It's very, very much, you can walk off the street, come and see me in my office, and I have teams of people. So it's a very, very different world.
And what were like the upsides and downsides of that?
That I mean, essentially, I was building what I thought was right. Essentially, like that architecture business that I built over the course of 6 years. Um, I thought that was the path that would give me this like internal fulfillment and happiness, and give me the status and the success that I wanted, that I thought I wanted, and it absolutely fucking didn't. Well, it gave me some, but like now I look back on that and go, well, what a gift. All that pain that I went through, because now I lead a very different life.
Yeah, like an observation was like you going back to my observation, thinking that you were a trainer or a coach. You were just like a really really good manager leader who did so much personal development with your team. Like I remember, like your team, you had a personal development hour every single week, and that you actually led them through that. And um that's what I saw, the positives of you being in that place. But the other side is that I remember you sharing like you were so busy. Like I remember like, and even when I started talking to you, like you were super busy. Like I trying to get a conversation in with you was like, yeah, I can see in 3 days.
Yeah, man. Like 60, 70 hour weeks are very normal. Just the normal. And that was like, well, yeah, of course. Of course I'm doing 60-hour weeks. I'm the CEO of this company. Isn't that what every CEO does? Right. That was just very, very normal. I was juggling 120 things at any one time whilst attempting to build a family and also going to build a dream home and all these other sorts of things. I was like, yeah, of course. Isn't that what every entrepreneur is doing? And you find, and I think that you go through a period where you you can do that, or you can take different routes.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember that, and like, because what happened was, there was a couple of us guys who were in the same sort of place, and we said to us like, why don't we get together and we just meet and talk about stuff that's going on in our business? And there was myself, you, a guy called Shane, Ian, and we met and we just started talking about what was going on in our work and our lives. And I remember just thinking like, oh my God, I really needed that. And we started, that was kind of part of starting of the Way Command, because
Mm.
I remember I was like, oh, these guys actually get me. Like I remember speaking to you and you're like, you were busy, you were leading a team, you were about to have a kid and all this sort of stuff. And it was like, all right, these guys get me. And this was like a real yeah, it was like, and I gather that you had the same too. It's like, albeit you were the CEO of the company, I remember you saying that you felt lonely and isolated. Can you tell me more about that? Because I think that's a really important like part of the journey.
Yeah, here's the thing: is like I'll just rewind a little bit into my like. So when I was 17, I started in corporate, straight into architecture, and I continued that route for 10 years. So I was in the corporate architecture world, design and build world for 10 years, and I loved it. I climbed the corporate ladder, and I absolutely thrived there. I did really, really well. Um, oh, am I out of focus, Ben, on the camera?
Yeah, if you can just tap the soft touch of the camera, it means that the just get you no, there you go. That's you back.
Yeah, fine, good. I loved it. Right. It got to a stage where I was managing over 100 guys on site on this construction site up in London in Moorgate. I had a big team, and I was a lead designer on this project. And during the course of that project, it was about 18 months. We took that project from about 5 million up to about 8 million in like revenue for the business that I was working for. And during that period, I realized I could do this on my own. I was like, do you know what? I'm building this big, big project. I'm like managing all. I had people with me. I had other managers with me, but it was a realization I could do this on my own. So we set up my own architecture studio, and I built that. And that was from my living room through to first office, second office, third office, fourth office. And over the course of 6 years, I had a team of 20 people. Our tenants in the building. We own the building in Ascot High Street, winning multiple awards for our culture and our great work as architects and interior designers and quantity surveyors and project managers. And it was a phenomenal ride. But during the course of that, of like doing this scaling of a business, it consumed every facet of my DNA and my life. It became everything. It was like, yeah, I might physically work 60, 70 hours a week, but mentally I was doing 120 because it would never stop. And that had impacts on like every area of my life. But for me, I was just chasing this pinnacle of once I get to the first million, I'm going to be really successful. And then once I get to the next million and the next million, I'm going to be really successful. And it was just constantly moving this goalpost and just putting all my significance in career into the growth of the business. And like the success of the business was ultimately the success of me.
Mm.
And it was probably like I remember about year 4.5. There was a stage I was in an apartment at the time in Wokingham. We just got a new office in Wokingham. And I got an apartment literally next to the office. Right, I used to live in 59. And my office was at I think it was 47. It was like literally next to it. And
Efficient, mate. Efficient.
there was this period where I was on my bed and I was so stressed. I could feel as though there was something like dangerous growing inside of me. Like the stress was just going all through my blood. And I'm like, this is not right. This is like something, this isn't right. Something's got to start changing. And it was kind of then like the seed was planted that at some stage I've got to do something different. And I didn't do much about it at the time. I just knew that deep down there's going to be a change. And then fast forward a couple of years, I moved into my big dream home in Oxfordshire. We had loads of land. We were putting plan permission in to build a dream house. The team had grown. The team had now doubled in size. So I was in a much bigger office. We had loads more things going on. And I fucking vividly remember walking through the woods near where I live. All right. So where I used to live, there's like thousands of acres of woodland. And I'd walk my beautiful dog, stereotypical family dog, car, model wife, child. And this route that I used to walk the dog, I'd walk the route hundreds of times. But this one particular time, I just felt so lost. And I'm like, something's really got to change now. This is like, I've got everything I ever thought I wanted. A successful business, beautiful wife, dream home, got the cars, got the Rolex watches, we're winning awards. Yeah, I'm incredibly lonely, incredibly isolated, and very, very unhappy. And it was in that moment I was like, right, that's it. It's something's got to change. And it was like I had to get to that point. It wasn't rock bottom, but it was close for me to go, right, fuck this. I'm gonna take a different route. I'm gonna take a route B.
Yeah, I like that. I think it is rock bottom, but it's not like your quintessential, down and out rock bottom. Do you get what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it is emotionally rock bottom. You're like, I've been there as well, and it's like you've got money coming in, there's things going well. You're not broken, you're not broke, as in like you got no money or got no mates, or like you're not broken like that, but like you're like, oh, I really don't feel great at all. I don't feel like I can feel any worse. I think that is that point, because I don't actually remember, because I remember we met up in Birmingham, because halfway between me and Pete's at Birmingham, and we were like, I remember speaking to you, and you're like, look at me, and like you'd lost all your muscle.
I know. When you said that, I've actually got a photo. I'm actually going to find that photo. Thanks for reminding me. And I remember looking at that photo afterwards. Just it was me and Ben. I took a selfie of us. I'm like, oh my god, look at my face. I look gaunt. I look like a ghost. Um, I actually look like a lot of the guys that I begin to work with now. These like successful guys on the outside, successful guys, but on the inside, fucking so much shit going on.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, I saw and I was part of an absolutely cataclysmic change. Like it was huge, and I wanted you to like share what, because like you are a master modeler. Like I think that's something that one of Pete's real master skills. He's a master. I think it comes from his architectural life. Is that you're just so good at frameworks and putting things together and plans and structures. You created and maybe consciously or subconsciously or a bit of both. You put in place a series of shifts, and I'd love you to share what those were, to help people understand, like if they are in that place or they feel in that place, what were the steps that you took?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have reverse engineered what went on and where, and because there hasn't been the first time I've made like quantum leaps and quantum shifts or taken what I call the route B. And like the route A is the typical stereotypical route that most people will take, society wants you to take, your mum wants you to take. It's the safer route.
Mm.
Route B is the one that you got to fucking go, this, I'm shit scared of this. I got to really lean into a lot of fear to go through those doors and take a very, very different route that society probably would frown upon. And loads of people did. Like, I essentially quit my business and I exited very, very quickly in 3 months. And there were so many people going, what the fuck? What's going on there? Like, not understanding. And it was like, well, this is the route B. This is the different route. So absolutely, I had a bigger vision for my life. I was like, I know that what I'm doing here is good. I could keep doing this. I could build the biggest architecture business in the whole of the south of the UK, absolutely. But I knew deep down that it wasn't right. And now I look back on it because, interestingly, and you could share on this as well, is that I didn't actually know I was very unhappy. I was just, although there was moments of unhappiness, I just continued. It was kind of like my identity. I was like, well, yeah, it's just normal. But every so often, and this is my spiritual realm coming into this. I was very, very unspiritual, by the way, a couple of years ago. Now I'm like tapping into this. Every so often, like the vortex would open and I would see a different world. I would see the potentiality of something else happening or something else being there for me. It might be for a minute, it might be for 10 minutes, it might be for 10 seconds. I would see there's like in my gut and in my intuition, there was something bigger and better for me. And then I would close, then the vortex would close and I continue with the life. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the ego versus the consciousness. Really, it's like the deep knowing of what you're meant to be, and then it's the ego saying, "No, this is art. This is us. This is my identity." Um, I absolutely, yeah, because very very similar. What's interesting about Pete and I is that our paths are very very similar, but we're also very very different. And it's like I had the same thing leaving my fitness business. I kind of exited really quickly. I said, "Listen, I'm going to go to Dubai." I was no longer a part of the team. I knew that I wanted to be a coach. I didn't want to be a trainer anymore, and I'm quite good at that. As soon as I make a decision, I'm like, I'm done. But I think that a lot of guys, like specifically guys, I can only speak for guys, um, is that they think that that's the only route, and I think they get to the point where it's way past the point where it's gone on for so long, it's hurt them so much. They haven't got the strength to get up and make the change. And I think what I kind of observed from what you were sharing there, Pete, is that you actually you weren't too broken to go right. I'm going to make the change. You had that resilience, that anti fragility to say, do you know what? All of these feelings that I've got going on, I need to change. I'll make the change, and you changed at the right point. Whereas, right, what is the right point?
Mm.
But I think a lot of guys will just hang on and hang on and hang on and hang on, and they end up either resenting their business, they end up like numbing or turn into drugs and alcohol. They cheat on their partners, all these things because they haven't made that uncomfortable decision which you made to say, no, I'm going to do things differently and actually
Yeah.
doing it. And I think that takes a shit ton of courage, to be fair. So go on
Yeah.
and you go on.
Yeah. I think there was a couple of things going on. Number one, I knew it wasn't right. Deep down in my gut, in my intuition, I knew it wasn't fucking right. And no, number two, I didn't know the full direction I was going to go in. I didn't know that I like this vision of creating like this humongous men's movement. I didn't know at the time that would be like the ultimate goal, but I did know that I needed to leave what I was doing, and I wanted to help people, and I wanted to get into this space. I didn't, but at the time, I didn't have this like big fucking 10x illogical vision. It wasn't there, but I had the intention to go there. Now I've got it. Now I've figured that out.
Which is interesting is that I remember when we started working on Awaken Man, and so I remember talking to Pete about men's work, and we were talking about like we ran an event called Men's Business, and the men's space for someone like Pete, especially Pete came from a corporate background, and the men's space of it's very unattractive. And I remember talking to you about this. Is like, right, yeah, we're gonna do a retreat. We're gonna do some therapy, and you can just see that you can see that you're like, I'm gonna trust you with this, but this seems very, very like I'm not good with this right now. And then when you
Yeah.
experience the work and you're like, oh, actually, I really needed that. And it was when we did the Wales event, and it's really interesting because when you've got a guy in your position, it's actually men's work is the right thing to help him in that place. But it's so unattractive telling a guy that you're gonna talk about your emotions, you're gonna learn stuff, you're gonna do these things that are hard and difficult. It's almost like the last thing that a guy wants to do. but it's the very remedy, isn't it? It's like the very thing that they need to do. And I think what Awaken Man's done so well, and the work you're doing, Pete, is that you've made it way more attractive. Like I'm watching your message at the moment. It's so clear, and you're making it more attractive for more guys. It's like, well, you can speak to that.
This is what I'd seen is that when I came into this like whole men's space, is that, and I think a lot of guys that are in the men's space and are teaching in men's space are like yoga teachers, real spiritual guys, and they are about going in the woods and bashing drums and doing yoga. They are very much about that. Whereas I've come from this very much, I'm a fucking warrior. Like I'm driven, I'm disciplined, I'm going after life and I'm getting it. So I didn't quite resonate with it. Now, what I've come to learn over the last couple of years is that it's like the yin and the yang. You get you get a good mixture of both of those things. Like you get this a bit of the softer side, a bit of the consciousness side, a bit of that spiritual side. Coupled that with the driven direction, the warrior, the king, you're forced to be reckoned with. It's attractive for women and it's attractive for other people around you. They're drawn to your energy there. So, I think like a lot of those yogi guys need the drive and the direction, and a lot of the driven guys need a bit of what the yogi's offering.
Yeah, I remember going to my first men's group that wasn't a retreat. I went to a local men's group and it was yoga guys. And I just remember looking around going, these are not my people.
Yeah.
They were just so anti-establishment, anti-money. That I wanted to talk about money and business and success and training. And I was like, these aren't my people. And it wasn't that they weren't great guys, but they just weren't my people. And that was like my experience. So tell me, like, let's get back to your story. Like, you're going through this, and your life isn't an illogical life. You're still on this default pathway. What happened next?
I culled. Like, I think about think about a mountain. So if we picture a mountain, and all of us, we're all climbing mountains. Like metaphorically, we're all climbing our own mountains in life. And at the peak of the mountain is our goals right then. If we're at the bottom of the mountain and we're carrying fucking shitloads of baggage, we've got loads of weights on our shoulder, we've got 3 water bottles, we've got loads of food in our bags, and then we've got a team of people. We've got people that are actually on our shoulders, right? And then there's all these like internal fears and beliefs and resistance and blocks and all these like things that we can't see, which is like the rope around our neck that's then tied to a post fucking 10 meters away. All these things are holding us back from climbing the mountain. And I learned that actually I could just get rid of a load of things in my life. I could essentially cull the things that don't serve me. And some of that absolutely involved people. Because there was loads of people in my life that were amazing people, or that they were very loving.
Yeah, go on. Add a little glitch there, Pete. Carry on.
Yeah, all right. So I culled. Essentially, I looked at the people around me, the people that weren't serving me, the people weren't serving me towards where I wanted to get to, even though I wasn't fully totally aware of where I wanted to get to. And I started just removing the people that didn't fit in with that. Right. And some of that was really freaking difficult. There were some really hard decisions there. But now I can look back on that and go, fucking absolutely the right decisions.
And what were the next steps after that?
Next steps after that. Well, we began the Awaken Man, right? And then we began the Awaken Man, and I was forced very, very quickly. And I actually like the forcing level ups, like forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations. And then you force the level. You either die or you thrive, all right? So you force the level up, and one particular area here was my own fucking self concept, right? And self concept being the story that I tell myself, the voice, the inner voice that's in my head, right? And really, really getting conscious about what that story is telling, and whether it's being a victim, whether it's being a hero. And then and every time I was in the victim mode, how quickly I could step away from being a victim and jump back into being a hero and make a different decision from that. Like the self-concept is really, really fucking important. Like you won't get the success that you thrive and you want unless the story you tell and the narrative that's inside of you is supporting that.
Yeah, I am. It's interesting because like I think both are true. Like I've been talking a lot about this recently. Is like strategy and self is that you won't get the results you want without the right strategy. Like that, we can both agree on that. If your strategy is sucks and you're not doing the right thing, you're going to struggle. But then you could have the Sistine Chapel, the best strategy ever, and if you're being a victim, the first sign of it not working, you'll give up. And I think that that's something that testament to when we were creating Awaken Man is that there was so many times we had brilliant strategies and we had like weeks where we did open weeks. We had like 140, 150 people on, and the results just didn't reflect the leads, and we were like, what's going on? And we were trying to fix this strategy, and equally there was so much of it about having that resilience to say, right, let's go again, and that's what I think is a testament to both our characters, is that we just didn't get that as a knockout. It was just a knockback. We're like, right, okay, straight back on it. And that's something that you can't teach. You've got to make a decision to be like that, I think. And you're so many guys, you can give them this blueprint of X, Y, or Z, and which it will work. This is the way I've done things. This is the blueprint I've created. But if they're being a victim, the first sign of that not working, they're like, oh, this won't work for me. This is another thing that doesn't work for me. My self-concept is that things don't work for me. And I think like, what you're saying about self-concept there is like, that is absolutely why people have to work on self-image.
Yes. Yeah. It's self-concept and standards.
But you've done a lot of work on this. Like even, Hina was on the last podcast, and like you worked with Hina
I did.
Like 1-to-1, didn't you, years ago?
Yeah. I've done a lot of work on this because I realized that I was like, this is the fucking key. Like the more I'm able to unpack my behaviors, emotions, blocks, the way that I talk to myself, which then ultimately dictates the way that I act. I can elevate that. I'm just gonna elevate life, essentially.
So, audit your people, work on your self-concept. What's next? Because like this is good. Like if you're looking to create this illogical life, what else needs to shift?
Yeah, this next step here. This I'd be interested to know how much this affects women, because I tell you, this affects men, and this is the need for control. It's like it's consistently having this need to control every narrative that's going on in life. The weather's it's raining today. I'm fucking pissed off. Right, fucking hell! I was gonna take Leo to the zoo. It's now raining. Just fuck. It's like now, like because it's raining, and I'm trying to essentially control the weather. I'm pissed off. Right. Or client hasn't done what I thought they were going to do. I'm now fuming. I'm pissed off about that. It's ruined 2 hours of my day. Right. Someone doesn't turn up to a call when they said they were going to turn up to a call. They cancel 3 minutes before they meant to turn up to the call. I'm now pissed off for the rest of the day. It's now consumed me. Like this need to and it's the same with everything. It's like trying to control your money, trying to control the lead flow, kind of control your business, trying to control a relationship. Like and the way someone else is feeling. Like the more that you try to control, the less control you have. Essentially, the only thing that you can control is your mind. Is the way that you respond to any given situation. So weather's shit today, and I thought it was going to be sunny, but it's not. It's raining. Well, Leo, we can have a fantastic day out in the rain. Let's just embody the rain. What a beautiful day, right? Or we go and do something different. It's like stop trying to control everything, and I tell you, you have way more inner peace. And that inner peace allows you to make different decisions. You go about life in a different way. You actually feel happier.
I remember hearing this thing is like stress is a barometer for how far our thinking is from reality, and it's like it shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't, like, anything that couldn't won't. Like it's a like, this is the reality. It's raining. Oh, it's raining. It should. And like if you feel sad about that, or you feel like a really contracted about it being rainy, it's because you believe it should be sunny, and it's like,
Mm.
and that's that feeling is you refusing your reality, and it took me probably about 5 years to really get that, and when I got it, I was like, right, and it's like, so anytime I'm feeling hyper emotional about something, I'm like, I'm refusing reality. What is it?
Yeah.
Telling myself something should be different.
Here's actually a live example. So 2 weeks ago, I hosted a live in-person event in London, and it's the first event that I've done at my new home. And I wrote down a schedule, right? 9 a.m. arrival, 9:15 to 10 to
You still doing that? You
9:45.
still doing that? You still doing the schedule?
But because so this is actually the first event I've ever hosted on my own, no facilitators, 2 days, just purely me. I had 20 guys. And I wrote down like a schedule of the day. Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to go into this strategy. At this point, I'm going into this strategy. And this is what I'm going to teach, essentially. In the morning, I went to drop off Leo. I had the schedule in my back pocket. And at some stage, I must have just taken my phone out. The schedule had dropped. And so it's gone in the middle of London. And I realized this on the walk back. And in that moment, I was like, oh, the schedule's gone. What a fucking gift.
Mm.
What a beautiful gift I've just been given, because now I can just go with the flow. Now this is absolutely me letting go of control and just going with the flow of the day and just backing myself to, and it worked out perfectly, because I led the whole weekend purely on intuition, no structure at all to how or what I was going to run and how I was going to do it. It was all intuition, and it couldn't have worked out any better. And
Wow.
and that, but if I tried to control that situation, I'd have been fucking stressing my ass off. Shit, haven't got the full schedule just written out. All the guys are turning up now. I'd have been panic, and I would not have been able to lead the whole that weekend the way I did, because I would have been in panic mode. Got
Yeah,
to let go.
that's great. I think, and I think that's also self reassurance.
Mm.
Like self reassurance is no matter what, I've got this. Like I live that trait is like, you talk about like having an illogical life, is that you got to be able to say, well, do you know what? No matter what, I've got this. And I think that's what some people they need, that so much structure. They need things to be certain. They need things to be planned and mapped out, and they need to have it. Is like, but I think what happened to me, or for me, really more so, was that I just got to this point. And I was like, burn it all down, I'll be able to make it up again. I'll be able to
Mm.
remake it. And I think going through those, like you shared as well, is things disappearing and like having to rebuild them and remake them. It gave me that self reassurance. Like, do you know what? No matter what, I got this. Like even going through COVID with the gym and the gym being shut down, I was like, do you know what? No matter what happens, I'm going to be able to get through this and be successful. And I think that's, for me, that self reassurance is like, you're going to be okay. And when I realized that, for me, that was like transformational. It was so like, okay, because anytime I'm panicking or worrying, I just go, Ben, you got this. Whatever it's gonna be, you got this. And it's like higher level compassion. So Pete, like we talked before the call about like about this illogical life that you've created, and you said that you've actually got something that would be helpful for the listeners if they wanted to assess their illogical, like if they could create an illogical life. Tell me more about
Yeah. Oh, look, essentially, right now, I probably work 3 or 4 hours a day. I train every day. I do jujitsu a couple of times a week. I've now started doing yoga a few times a week. I travel most months. I have loads and loads of free time with my son. My mind is in a completely different place. I have loads of internal peace. I'm also probably one of the best physical conditions I've ever been in. I just have resources. I live in a beautiful place in Canary Wharf. I have resources at my disposal. I feel great. This life is extremely different to what I used to live. It's a logical life. And I reverse engineered it, and I created this like 8-step, essentially like wheel of life, but it's for a logical life. And there's 8 categories, 8 slices to the pizza here. which I've got, and you can absolutely have this and put this in your group. And alongside that, there is then steps to think about. So if there's a particular area in the illogical life wheel that's like, do you know what, this is actually a fucking 2 out of 10. I'm only at 20% here. There's then some steps that you can take and think about to then increase the percentage, take it from a 2 to a 6. Because sometimes like a 2 to a 6 can make a quantum leap in your life.
Yeah. So all you need to do to get that is in this podcast, there is a link to my platform, which is for the Mile Deep podcast. It's called the 10X Tribe. Click on the link and head on over into the classroom section. And then in the first course in there, you'll see a Mile Deep with Pete Taylor. It'll have this video that we've recorded with this interview today, and then it'll have the life wheel. It'll have the illogical life wheel. Click on that. Take the wheel. These are really good, by the way. Like, we use them a lot in Awakened Man, and it's really like, it'll take you 2 minutes, Pete? How long is it going to take them to do it?
Yeah, it'll take you 2 minutes to assess yourself, and it just gives you the foundations. It's like, okay, here's some foundations for me. Do you know what? Here's the actual area that I'm scoring lowest. I could just work on that over the next 4 weeks, make a huge shift in my life.
I don't think it even gives you the foundations. I think it gives you the awareness,
Yeah.
I think that the first thing it does, it just goes, yeah, oh my God, actually, do you know what? That I knew that it was there, but I didn't know it was that bad. And I think that's for me, like making and taking scorecards when I've done them. Me and Poppy did one for the Gottman certification. Not I was doing it, Yassine was doing it, and he sent it to me and Poppy, and I realized some of the things, like I'm still getting value from having taken that assessment, because it was like, oh right, this wasn't where I wanted it to be, and it really helps just kind of put your finger in the air saying, actually, this is where it is compared to where I want it to be. So there's a massive value. So I'll pop a link in the transcript for this. Pete, is there anything that you wanted to share before we close this about, once you've created this illogical life? You said that the results have been you've had more time, you've had more peace. What have been the knock-on effects of that for you?
Freedom in the mind.
Nice.
Freedom. There's just like, just having that, just inner peace. That is fucking. It's having that is so powerful. Having inner peace. Because having that then gives you, it just gives you the space in the mind to think bigger and to think about different things and to think about what you want out of life, and then to go out and then actually to go and action and do it. When your mind is fucking chaotic all the time, you can't do that. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah, I think so many business owners, men and women, they think it's all in the stretch. Like, I need to be on all the time. I need to be doing all the time. And there was that, it was actually Yassine that taught me this. It was like stretch plus rest equals growth. And I love that. It's like stretch, like absolutely do the hard things, stretch yourself, push yourself, work, deep, do deep work, but then have that space and that freedom to allow that stuff to actually bed in and grow you. I heard this morning, actually. A mind that's been expanded never goes back to its small size. It's like, it's so true.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. I've really enjoyed this, and I'm going to be featuring on the Awaken Man podcast. If you are a man or a woman looking to learn more about masculinity, relationships, and anything to do with becoming a great man, Pete and I co-host a podcast. It's amazing. It's an amazing podcast. It actually grew me up. It was part of my personal development as well. Pete and I, both grew massively because we've interviewed some of the world's best in that podcast. There's some great podcasts on hard conversations, on relationships, on masculinity. I've actually listened to a podcast this morning. I'll send it to you, Pete. I'm going to try and get this guy on to talk about the men's movement. It's unreal. It's a really good podcast. Highly recommend it. I'll put a link to that podcast in the chat as well, in the transcript. Highly recommend listening to that. Pete, thanks for coming on, and no doubt we'll see you again.
Thank you, man.